Which is something a vulture doesn't have, which is why they're debated. But if you ask me, they're a raptor. They have a sharp hooked beak for tearing at prey, and they have forward-facing eyes, making them predators. They have that binocular vision. Now, speaking of bald eagles, how many of you have ever heard an eagle call in a movie? That big, loud, voracious screech? What if I told you it's not an eagle? You guys are about to meet the most famous voice actor in Hollywood. Well, not her herself, but in general, this species. That large, loud call does not belong to the eagle. It belongs to the most common hawk in North America, the red tail. Eagles have a high-pitched chirp because it's made to travel over water. They live along waterways, hunting primarily fish. The red-tailed hawk has that big, loud, territorial screech that travels well through the forest and over grassland, which is where you'll find these guys. However, being the most common hawk in North America, you've probably seen them in your backyard before, and you've probably seen them flying overhead. They're easily distinguished by that beautiful red tail that you can see my friend Bloomfield here sporting. But how many of you think you could see that tail 100 yards up in the sky? You think you could spot that red tail? You could ID that tail is definitely red from a whole football field in the sky? You, sir, have hawk vision. But so do these guys. These guys could easily spot that tail from 100 yards away because hawks have vision that's so good they can see the hair on the back of a mouse from an entire football field away. Which means if Bloomfield here was perched all the way up in a big tall pine tree and you were sitting below her, she could count the hairs on your head. They use that incredible vision to look for prey. Hawks have basically high definition vision, so they can see more pixels per frame than a human could. Their whole world lives basically in stop motion if they were to watch a movie. They'd see every individual frame. Now they use that to hunt a variety of different prey. Being a red-tailed hawk, they're an opportunistic hunter. Now all raptors are what are called obligate carnivores, meaning they have to eat meat and only meat to survive. You will never see a red-tailed hawk eating a blueberry. But being opportunistic, she will eat just about everything she can get her talons on. From a songbird darting through the trees to a lizard running through the grass, or even a mouse under some leaf litter. And she uses her incredible vision to find those. And then she has to swoop down and grab it up with incredibly powerful feet. This glove I have on is 4 layers thick of goat hide leather. And that's because these talons right here, that I'm so graciously touching, have 200 pounds per square inch of pressure in their grasp. That's the same as the bite force of a German Shepherd police dog. It's also the same crushing power that a common snapping turtle has. A little excessive for mice, I might say, but it sure gets the job done. But they use those incredibly powerful feet to instantly take down their prey. And if they're having prey that might struggle a bit more, like a rabbit or a squirrel, it helps them hang on to it, make sure it's not going anywhere. But it has one other ability as well. Do you guys wonder how a bird sits in a tree on a really windy day or when they're asleep? Yeah. How do they not get blown right into the distance, like Team Rocket? Well, that's because they have a locking mechanism in their talons. When their talons are closed, that's a comfortable position for them. Their talons lock in that position due to their tendons, and they're completely comfortable. If you squeeze your fist as tight as you possibly can, you can do it for maybe 3 seconds before it's extremely uncomfortable. Bloomfield here could do that for 3 days and see no problem with it. You have a bit of food on your chin, ma'am. That's not very ladylike. Now, Bloomfield here, these guys are nicknamed the mile marker bird because they're known to sit along highways. And that's because red tails are pretty lazy hunters. Have you guys ever been driving down the highway and seen one of these guys perched up in a tree before? Yep. That's because they're looking for food along roadways because they know it's an easy source. And the reason there's so many prey items for these guys along roadways is because of littering. Now, I have a little survey here. Who thinks it's better to throw out a piece of plastic on the side of the road? Who thinks it's better to throw out something biodegradable like a banana peel? I thought the same thing, except it's better to throw out neither. Because, well, that banana peel will biodegrade, and it is a food source for some wildlife. It doesn't biodegrade quickly enough. So that banana peel on the side of the road is attracting things like rodents and squirrels and other animals that these guys like to eat. And unfortunately, birds of prey are not very good at looking both ways before they cross the street. And we believe that's what happened with Bloomfield. She was hunting along a roadway in her first year of life. She was just a juvenile, and she wasn't really paying attention to where she was going. Luckily, she wasn't hit by a car, but she flew directly into a power line. And that power line fractured her left humerus, which is the bone that goes between your shoulder and your elbow. Someone found Bloomfield pretty quickly and brought her straight to Vince, where we did our best to rehabilitate her. However, shoulder injuries are notoriously hard to heal. And unfortunately, Bloomfield could not sustain flight anymore. The humerus is actually a hollow bone because it's used for respiration and to make them lighter in flight. So that bone healed a bit quicker than our rehabilitation staff could handle. So while she's no longer in any pain, she can only fly maybe 30 feet, which is not nearly enough to get 100 yards up in a tree, or to soar around looking for a mate or to build a nest. And that happened 27 years ago. So Bloomfield here is a seasoned pro at being an educational ambassador, and she's educated thousands of people in her time doing that. Now, do you have any questions about hawks or Bloomfield? No questions at all? I answered every question you could possibly have about a hawk. These guys have about a 3.5-foot wingspan, which is pretty decent for a bird this size. Yes?
Why are the tail feathers red?
I don't know the exact scientific reason they're red. We've never found an exact evolutionary advantage to them having a red tail, but it makes a really good way to ID them.
Are both the males and females brightly colored?
Yep, so males and females look exactly the same, but they exhibit sexual dimorphism or changes in color in a different way. Usually in raptors, the rule of thumb is females are going to be larger than males, usually 1.5 times larger. Bloomfield here is an incredibly large female. We never had to get her tested. You can actually blood test a bird to find their gender, because she weighs a whopping, what do you guys think Bloom weighs? I think she's 50 pounds, 20 pounds? 15?
15.
3 pounds. She weighs a whopping 3 pounds, which is incredibly large for a red-tailed hawk.
How long do hawks live generally?
So a species this size, a larger species of hawk, is going to live a bit longer than a smaller one. Red-tails, on average in the wild, live anywhere from 20 to 25 years. In human care, 30 to 35. So she's got quite a ways to go with us. Yes?
What do they do in the wintertime when the ground is covered with snow and all the little roses are...
The rodents are still active in the winter, and they use their incredible vision to try to spot them in the snow. Or they'll switch to hunting things like carrion, which are dead animals along roadways, or deer, things, carcasses they can find. And some red tails actually do migrate. Well, in general, they're a non-migratory species. In the colder areas of their range, which is everywhere in the U.S. and Canada, parts of Mexico, they will migrate south to areas like Virginia, North Carolina, where it doesn't get quite as much snow cover. But being opportunistic, they'll hunt anything that's meat. Do you have a question over here?